Just when you think the ongoing Epstein scandal couldn't possibly get any worse for Donald Trump, a Republican congressman went on live TV and blew the whistle about Trump's massive cover up and pressure campaign to bully and threaten Republican lawmakers into burying the Epstein files for Trump. This is unsurprising, but given that it's coming from a Republican congressman, it's still quite shocking. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play, starting with a shocking revelation. Again, unsurprising, but shocking nonetheless, from Republican Congressman Thomas Massie.
And how many Republicans do you think will vote for this on the floor?
Well, I've already had a couple Republicans tell my office privately that they're going to vote for it, and I think that could snowball. I mean, the deal for Republicans on this vote is that Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way. In other words, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles, you've got cover in a Republican primary. But I would remind my colleagues that this vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president. And what are you going to do in 2028 and 2030 when you're in a debate, either with a Republican or a Democrat, and they say, how can we trust you? You covered up for a pedophile back in 2025.
So that is Thomas Massie blowing the whistle on a massive cover-up and pressure campaign by Trump against Republican lawmakers, members of his own party. You better bury the Epstein files for me, protect me and the people that I care about, my billionaire buddies, the privileged and the elite. You either help protect me and them, or I'm going to screw you over in the primary. And it's causing Republicans to basically have split loyalties, where they're coming to Massie saying, you know what, we will vote to release the Epstein files. We just got to keep it quiet because otherwise Trump's going to screw us over. I mean, again, unsurprising, but shocking to hear on live TV from a Republican congressman who endorsed Trump for the presidency. And now they're at odds. But we have other clips to play as well, including this one and others between Massie and Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna.
Since he's the Republican House Speaker, he's calling it totally pointless exercise and completely moot. What do you make of his comments? Do you agree with those?
Well, the White House spent a lot of effort in the midst of a shutdown to stop a totally pointless exercise that's completely mute.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Again, this is a reference to what we talked about yesterday, which is that Trump basically impaneled an emergency meeting at the White House. And now we know in the Situation Room, so basically the information heart of the White House, probably the most secure part of the White House, where the president and the chief of staff and members of the cabinet meet to discuss like a national security crisis. The Situation Room was where President Obama supervised the assassination of Osama bin Laden. Right? That's how big of a deal this is. This is even more high profile, or more rather secure and intimate than the Oval Office. And Trump summoned Representative Lauren Boebert, who was one of the signatories of the discharge petition that would force the release of the Epstein files, or attempt to the White House to meet with Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, Boebert's being a bit coy about it, right? She's having a foot in both worlds, where she's defying Trump, but also trying to be loyal to Trump. This is what she said to Note Us, or Not Us. The resurgence of the Epstein files saga was clearly not welcomed by Trump, or the administration, or Trump, who accused the Democrats of playing politics to change the subject from the shutdown. The White House's efforts to pressure Republicans to remove their name from the discharge petition, playing phone tag with Representative Nancy Mace, and hosting Representative Lauren Boebert in the Situation Room on Wednesday went nowhere. Quote, I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room, said Carolyn Levitt. Two former Biden White House officials told Notice that it was, quote, highly unusual and, quote, weird for the Situation Room to be used for non-national security or classified issues. The White House did not respond. Quote, it's just an easy skiff to get into, Boebert told Notice last night when she was asked why the meeting took place in a room reserved for high-profile national security issues. Quote, I guess I'm pretty high-profile, so fairly tongue-in-cheek. And to her credit, and we'll get to that, Boebert did not move. She did not budge, despite the overt pressure and extortion coming from the White House. Again, very shocking stuff. Here's another clip.
Wait, I got to give credit to Lauren Boebert to walk into the White House, the center of power, the free world, really, and to sustain that and to come back out and to be solid, and also to Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene. There was all the speculation that they might take their names off, and they never did. So it's not a hoax. It's not a moot point. It is a very serious thing. There are 1,000 victims, And there are survivors who have had a press conference with Ro Khanna and I, and that's what we're fighting for, justice for them.
Did y'all talk to them at any point during this, as the White House was making clear they were targeting these members?
I talked to them. I don't want to say which one I had this conversation with, but one of them was told, we can't let Massie have a win. How petty is that?
So that's stunning. Okay, remember, Thomas Massie and Donald Trump have a complicated relationship. Massie ultimately endorsed Trump for the presidency in 2024 because even though I give Thomas Massie a lot of credit for being a principled conservative to the extent that any exist in the Republican Party in the age of Trump, of course, he's still partisan on some level. Trump accepted Massie's endorsement, but has at times tried to get Massie thrown out of office by way of primaries. They've all failed thus far against Massie, but now the feud between Trump and Massie has hit a fever pitch. What Massie is saying is, in addition to trying to protect Trump and his billionaire allies from any sort of political scandal or any sort of implication of association with the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, they also wanted to screw Thomas Massie. Like, hey, we know you believe that there were so many people who were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. We know this is very important to you, Republican congressperson. But also, don't you kind of want it to stick it? Like, isn't it more important to deny Thomas Massie a win? The shamelessness of the Trump administration is without precedent.
I mean, this is more than about political wins. It's about getting transparency and justice, which, by the way, this administration promised. You have the vice president, J.D. Vance, you have the AG, you have the FBI director. They've all done a 180 on this.
Exactly. That's why, people can complain, well, what about the Biden administration? Well, the Biden administration didn't make their entire fucking identities about releasing the Epstein files, number one. Number two, there were still ongoing court cases and litigation related to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Number three, President Biden never made a promise to his supporters to release the Epstein files. Number four, most people on the Democratic side of things didn't think that there was much to the Epstein files conspiracy theory about a vast sex network until the 180s done by Trump. Then it's like, well, wait a minute. Why aren't they releasing the Epstein files? Why are you reacting with such fear? Now more liberals than ever believe that there's more to this because of the very sort of behavior that Trump's engaging in, the hypocrisy and the backtracking. Reporter says that Thomas Massie just had a lengthy gaggle with reporters, confirms there was an intense pressure campaign to get the Republican women to drop off, and criticized the White House for focusing on that today instead of the shutdown. Quote, they were scrambling over there to stop this. He checked in regularly. He checked in with the parliamentarian, and even if someone leaves Congress early or dies, like Mikey Sherrill, who is now the governor-elect, of New Jersey, she's leaving Congress to go be governor. But as long as they signed the petition, their signature still stands. Multiple House Republicans beyond this, who signed the discharge petition, told Massie they intend. Who signed the discharge petition, told Massie they intend to vote for the Epstein resolution when it comes to the floor. Massie is planning another press conference tentatively next Tuesday with Epstein abuse victims. 2 victims were also in the gallery during Representative Grijalva swearing in. We're going to talk about Grijalva in a separate video because that in and of itself was a bit of a triumph. Now, Lauren Boebert reacted with seemingly pleasantly to Kyle Clark, who is a viral Colorado journalist who actually sang Lauren Boebert praises. He's grilled her in the past. He humiliated her in an interview or a debate that he was moderating because she deserved it, because she was lying and being inconsistent. And here he went on live TV and sang her praises.
It sure looks like Congresswoman Lauren Boebert did a brave thing today. Few people in politics are more polarizing, but put politics aside and consider what is being reported by the New York Times, CNN, and others, that President Trump directly pressured Boebert to help him stop the release of the Epstein files by pulling her support off a congressional petition and sinking that effort. Reports say the Trump White House also brought Boebert into the Situation Room for a meeting with the Attorney General and the FBI Director, who we should note are accused of using the Justice Department to punish people who defy the president. And by all appearances, Boebert did defy the president, despite the pressure and the reported threats.
Yep. Listen, I don't like Lauren Boebert, but I will acknowledge that what she did was pretty fucking brave under the circumstances. It's sad that the bar is set so low, but given that she had to defy the most powerful and dangerous cult leader in American history, if not global history, kudos to her. So, just real quick before we hop off here, looking at Thomas Massie's Twitter page, it's always full of good stuff. Next week, we will be voting to release the Epstein files. I honestly believe it's the right thing to do for the victims, but it's also the right thing to do for the country. Americans deserve transparency. And again, she takes a shot at the Democrats, but says now under full Republican control, there were only 4 Republicans that signed the discharge petition. Next week, when everyone is forced to go on the record to vote to release the Epstein files, I expect the number of Republicans to be a lot higher than those who actually vote yes. But remember the original 4. Mike Johnson confirms there will be a vote in the House to release the files next week. He says it will be straight up and down vote, no procedural games. Speaker tells Bloomberg the vote is completely pointless and they may as well just get it done. Massie points out if it's pointless, why did Johnson and the White House spend so much time and effort trying to defeat it? Kurt Schlichter, who is a MAGA lunatic, he responded to Thomas Massie, the 218th final signature for the Epstein discharge petition will happen tomorrow. Kurt Schlichter said, fire this guy. And then he got community noted, missing important context. Kurt previously advocated for the release of the Epstein files, but of course he's a hypocrite and a loser and a Trump cultist who should be made fun of for the rest of his life. And then Thomas hit him with this. Congrats, you got a community note and a ratio on the same post. Golden trophy, golden trophy. J.D. Vance, Ro Khanna retweeted him. What possible interest would the U.S. government have in keeping Epstein clients secret? Oh, Ro Khanna quote tweeted it. This is again from years ago, but he quote tweeted it yesterday and said, well, we're about to find out. Thomas Massie retweeted it. So there you have it, folks. A sitting Republican congressman went on live TV and exposed a massive cover-up and pressure campaign by Trump and the Trump administration to bury the Epstein files. Did it on live TV. It wasn't a Democrat alleging this. A Republican congressman who endorsed Trump in the last election, saying, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going public with this. This is what they tried to do. And most importantly, they failed. And that is something that we should all celebrate. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.